This
How do you fight it?
This
I
notion
think
of
I could kick most of their ass. I do think that if they want to do it. I know I can outrun them, but I don't know if we're going to fall into that place where we want to. Okay, we challenge you to a WWE fight here type of thing.
Governor Tim Walz just got challenged by a WWE Hall of Famer to a wrestling match. Governor Gavin Newsom is getting called out by CNN for lying as he continues to change his political tone, and mainstream media is forced to admit that the American people support President Trump now more than they've ever supported him in the past. I've got an interesting lineup of topics for you guys today, starting with Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs. So Jacobs is a former WWE superstar, and according to his former colleagues, he's definitely one of the strongest guys that have stepped into their ring. He's also a conservative who supports President Trump. Now, you saw how Tampon Tim taunted that he could kick some MAGA butt, right? Which prompted the mayor, formerly known as Kane, to issue a formal challenge.
Is Tim Walz a worthy opponent for you?
No, he's not. But he threw down the gauntlet, so I had to pick it up.
All right. And this is now a challenge?
Yes. When Governor Walz said that he could kick most Trump supporters' rears, I've in a WWE style match, actually, I figured that, well, I mean, I may as well call him on that. If you're going to say something like that, you have to expect someone's going to take up the challenge. So I challenged him to a charity wrestling contest.
Have you heard back?
I have not at this point. And that's unfortunate because I already have a corporate title sponsor. I'm serious about this. Lots of people have pledged money. I figure we could raise several $100,000 with this event, and it would all go to charity. We'd split the gate 50-50. Half would go to my charity, half would go to his. So it's a great opportunity actually to have some fun, but then also to benefit a great cause.
Now, I want to confirm that Jacobs is around 6'8", 300 pounds, although I'm pretty sure he's not going to hurt Walz. He would probably do all of that by himself as he tries to do anything physical. Mayor Jacobs did confirm that he's willing to fight with a handicap where Walz would feel comfortable enough that he would actually finish the match. Would any of you guys be interested in watching this wrestling match between these two? Now, from one troubled governor to another, let's talk about California Governor Gavin Newsom. He's now facing criticism from his own party as he distances himself from the radical left. Newsom has chosen a more moderate approach as he even had conservative guests show up to his podcast. And now, even CNN is hitting Newsom where it hurts.
Tonight, quote, "What in God's name is going on with Gavin Newsom?" That's a headline, and there's headline after headline asking that sort of question as the country is trying to figure out how he went from progressive hero and governor of the most liberal state in the country to interviewing and spending time with MAGA favorites like Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk on his new podcast. Tonight, our K-File looked into that, finding that Newsom, well, he's really completely changed his tune on some of the most hot-button issues for Democrats. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski joins me now. And Andrew, I mean, just going through some of these, he's got this podcast, and the concept was he wanted to talk to the other side, right? He was going to go into the lion's den. And you remember back in the day when he did that debate with DeSantis, right? This is consistent.
Yeah.
So his first time, though, he goes out and he backs away from some unpopular progressive policies, even ones that he's championed. So let's talk about the word Latinx. Just 2 weeks ago, here's what he said about it.
By the way, not one person ever in my office has ever used the word Latinx.
So can we finally put that to bed?
Yeah,
we agree?
where did that even
No more Latinx, everybody.
Well, I just didn't even know where it came from. I'm like, what are people talking about?
But there was a person who used Latinx. It was actually a really important person. It was him. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And look, these aren't minor shifts. These are progressive issues that Gavin Newsom used to champion until fairly recently. And now he's not just walking away from them. He's sort of acting like they were never legitimate with that clip talking about Latinx in the first place. But let's take Latinx. We did find somebody who used it repeatedly in his office. Let's take a listen to this.
I hope we can really paint a picture in terms of our consciousness of how impactful this has been on the Latinx community. The Latinx and Black communities. You've got politicians that are banning not assault rifles, but the word Latinx. They're not even serious.
And look, Aaron, those aren't the only times that we found that he used it. He also used it a lot on social media. Look at a few of these right here. You see there, that is a lot of use of Latinx by him for somebody who said that nobody in his office has ever used that phrase.
Right. So that was put upon him. All right. So
Now, we all know why Gavin Newsom's doing this. He's lying to appeal to the voters that generally don't like him, to show a more moderate stance compared to the far left policies that he'd push in his own state. And if you're a progressive and CNN is calling you out as a liar, then you're in trouble, because they're doing Republicans this huge favor by trashing Governor Gavin Newsom live on air. And it's funny that he has to lie to make it seem as if he's normal, that he didn't bring some extremely radical left-leaning policies to the state.
Covered.
Now, it's also said that the state is standing at a deficit of $70 billion, $24 billion unaccounted for within the homeless industrial complex. And to top it off, Gavin Newsom has added $10 billion as they bankrupted an essential program for vulnerable Californians, all to pay for illegal immigrants. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. There's also the California bill AB 86 that will provide taxpayer-funded college loans only to illegal immigrants. California was set to be a progressive paradise, but it's clear that they can't maintain all of the spending without asking for more money. And it's one of the reasons why President Trump is in the White House right now. A majority of Americans are tired of taxpayer money benefiting everybody else but us. And so this is why a lot of people support mass deportation. It's a bitter truth that CNN was forced to admit on air.
63%, according to the latest Fox News poll, say that they favor deporting those immigrants. So that's a pretty high number. Can you square that with what we just heard from Priscilla's reporting?
Yeah, I think that obviously the president has kind of blanketed the airwaves with saying that all of these people deported are criminals. And given the fact that we, reporters like Priscilla, we have very limited information to who exactly has been deported. The government has not handed over names. I know CBS got a hold of a list of names, but that hasn't been provided to those who are asking for who was actually deported. And there is a difference between someone who came into the country illegally versus someone who overstayed their visa. That's not a crime, versus someone who has no criminal record, no criminal history. Mm-hmm. And based on my reporting, based on clearly Priscilla's reporting, there are some Venezuelan nationals whose family members, whose lawyers say that they were deported, who have no criminal record, who have no criminal history, that they legally applied for asylum or were trying to gain status, where some of them were in the middle of proceedings, and then they were deported.
And I think federal judges are helping to create this shift. Now, I'm sure you guys remember the judge that wanted Trende Aragua gang members to be flown back into the United States for criminals to be returned because they want due process. Kayleigh McEnany, she made a great point when she talked about it on Fox News. Watch.
Every time this judge issues an order, I bet there's a political wing of the Republican Party that says, great, you just forced Democrats to take the side of Trende Aragua gang members. And they look at the polls, and NBC, 55% approve of what Trump's doing on immigration. Now, imagine if the NBC pollsters had said, how many of you support turning around planes midair full of gang members who have potentially murdered, kidnapped, etc.? I guarantee you that number would be 99%. It's consistently Trump's highest ranking issue is immigration. So they celebrate this when it happens. Not a single American's like the judge at 5:22 p.m. said, take a break. At 5:45, the flight took off, and at 6, he resumed the hearing. No one does that except the political class. This is a win for Republicans. The judge should just keep at it, because every time you issue orders like this, you are just putting a tailwind behind the Republican Party.
It's going to be a long 4 years for the Democratic Party if all they can do is disagree with everything that President Trump says, especially on issues that has strong support from the American people. They're really showing their true colors. They're almost like burying themselves in advance of the 2028 presidential election. Now, speaking of strong support, we're hearing some good news when it comes to stimulus checks. Now, I covered this in a recent live stream that I urge you guys to check out. As always, appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you next time, California. But remember how he touted about providing free healthcare to illegal immigrants? That's blowing up in his face too.
Governor Gavin Newsom says the state short on funds for its Medicaid program known as Medi-Cal. The state expanded the program to cover undocumented immigrants. The governor asked lawmakers to approve another $2.8 billion in loans on top of a $3.4 billion loan issued last week. So California now making up a $6.2 billion shortfall in Medi-Cal funds. The money meant to keep the program properly funded through June.
The realities are the realities. You have to balance budgets. We balance our budget. Revenue is holding up. I don't see anything significant along the lines of what some have asserted. But I do see the need to make adjustments and changes broadly in the Medicaid system.
Meantime, Republicans blaming Democrats for creating financial insecurity with the Medi-Cal program. They say undocumented people should not be